Hello and welcome back to our Salesforce integration training. This is another video in a series of videos designed to help you get your PhoneBurner account configured and working within your Salesforce environment. This is part of a series, so hopefully you've been watching these videos in order. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the training topic for this specific video. I want to talk to you about the dispositions. So hopefully at this point you've seen a demo of how PhoneBurner works, and you've noticed that there are dispositions that show up across the bottom of the screen as you're making calls. And these buttons across the bottom of the screen are customizable. You can create as many buttons as you want or need, and these buttons can be labeled any way you want them. And then based off of these buttons, you can configure what we call a status on any one of these buttons. These buttons actually log the call activities back to Salesforce. And so what I want to do is I want to give you a quick little overview of how you can customize these dispositions or buttons in your account. Now I do want to point out that we highly recommend that you get on an onboarding call with somebody from our team so that we can help you better understand and customize these buttons. But for the sake of this video, I want to help you understand what you can do at a very high level. So I'm going to go ahead and end this dial session. Let's jump back over to PhoneBurner. In our PhoneBurner account, we need to go to the dial session settings to configure our disposition. So again, you click on your initials in the upper right-hand corner, go to dial session settings. On the left-hand side, you're going to see dispositions. Here in the disposition settings, you're going to see two types of buttons, the dialing set and the live answer set. The dialing set is the first set of buttons you see at the start of every call. Those are going to be buttons like voicemail, no answer, busy signal. The live answer set is a set of buttons that you only see after you complete a live conversation. These are going to be buttons like set appointment, not interested, follow up later, things like that. And so you want to think about the button that you want to create and when you would use it. If it's a button that you would only use after a live conversation, put it in your live answer set. If it's a button that you would click on if nobody answers the phone, then you'd put it in your dialing set. You'll also notice that you can create multiple dialing and live answer sets. Again, I'm not going to go into that much detail on this specific training, but I do want to point out that you can create multiple sets of buttons and you can have them configured any way you want. So let's say, for example, you're dialing leads and you're going to be calling contacts. You might want to have different dialing and live answer sets for your leads versus your contacts so that you can send different emails and things like that. But let's dive into the customization of the dispositions. Let's jump into the Salesforce demos dialing set. When I click on that, that's going to take me to the set of buttons that make up this set. You'll notice that I've got several buttons in here. Some of them are highlighted green and some of them are black. The green ones indicate that they are voicemail buttons. They've been configured so that you can leave a voicemail. So let's go ahead and edit the English Standard VM button. When I click on that, that's going to take me to the button settings. Now the label is what shows up on the screen when I'm making calls. The call status is what gets posted back to Salesforce as part of the activity. Most of the time, your button label and your call status will be the same, but it doesn't have to be the same. Now, I also want to point out that not every setting within a button is relevant for a Salesforce integrated customer. The note is irrelevant. We're not posting notes based off of this disposition back to Salesforce. We just log an activity. If you want to add notes, there are ways to add notes, and we will talk about that in our training, but this is irrelevant with the Salesforce integration. But you'll notice this voicemail option, you can choose a specific voicemail recording that you assign to this voicemail button, or you can configure it so that you choose the voicemail every time you start a dial session. And then finally, if you want to leave a live voicemail where you stay on the line, wait for the beep, and you actually record the voicemail live, you can configure the disposition as a live voicemail. It'll still light up green when you're making calls, but you're going to have to leave the voicemail. You've got the option for a specific pre-recorded voicemail, one that's a little bit more dynamic where you choose it at the start of each dial session, and then finally the custom live voicemail option. Also, when you're configuring your dispositions or creating a custom button, you can assign a one-touch email to that button. So if you want to send an email to a contact based off of this specific call outcome, you can assign an email to that button. You can create as many emails as you want or need in the PhoneBurner system, and you can assign different emails to all of your buttons. Or you can assign the same email to all of your buttons. And then the next option is the SMS message option. For those of you that qualify, you can be approved to trigger text messages based off of call outcome. And then the system would automatically send a text message from the phone number that you've purchased within your PhoneBurner account. This is only available to our premium customers, and you do have to go through a verification process in order to be approved to trigger or send text messages from the PhoneBurner system. But it can be a huge time saver to be able to build out your text message templates in PhoneBurner and have them sent automatically on Disposition. Now, the majority of the rest of them are really irrelevant for Salesforce customers because you're not using the PhoneBurner CRM. But I do want to point out a couple other options. The first one is DNC. As you're making calls using PhoneBurner, there may be certain call outcomes where you would want to flag or log a specific phone number as a DNC phone number. So you never call that phone number again using PhoneBurner. In which case you can configure the disposition as DNC phone number. There may be other situations where you want to DNC the entire contact. And what we'll do is we'll take all phone numbers related to that contact when you click that disposition and add all of those phone numbers to your PhoneBurner DNC list. Now I do want to point out that we do not do anything to those phone numbers in Salesforce. So if there's some additional DNC functionality that you might want to log in Salesforce, you may need to create a flow in your Salesforce org to automatically take call outcomes, like a do not call outcome, and update that record in Salesforce. Of course, deleting a contact is irrelevant. We're not deleting any contacts in Salesforce. We're not deleting the phone numbers. If you want to delete a phone number in Salesforce, that's something that you'd have to do either in the dial session itself in the iframe or after the fact. Connected calls, this is an important one for reporting. As you're making calls with PhoneBurner, depending on the call outcome, you may want to log that as a connected call versus a not connected call. Here are some examples. No answer voicemail. Probably don't want those to be flagged or counted as a connected call. So you'd leave those set as no. Whereas booked an appointment, set a follow-up, you'd probably want to configure those disposition as connected calls. So typically, if the button is part of the live answer set, it would be yes here. If it's part of the dialing set, it would be no here. Now there are situations like, let's say, gatekeeper. You may not want to count those as connected calls. Everybody's a little bit different on that. Now the last couple ones here are mostly irrelevant, but I do want to point out the webhook. Do not add anything to the webhook option here. If you do, PhoneBurner cannot automatically log those calls back to Salesforce. You're essentially telling PhoneBurner to take the results from this specific call and to send them somewhere else other than Salesforce. So you only want to add something here if this specific disposition should not log a call back to Salesforce and you want to send those call results somewhere else. So you need to configure some sort of webhook URL in some other tool, something like Zapier or another tool like it. So to wrap up, you can create as many buttons as you want or need, both on the dialing and live answer side. Those buttons can be configured with custom names and statuses. The status is what posts back to Salesforce as part of the activity that's created on the Salesforce side. These buttons can be configured to trigger emails and text messages. And they can also be configured to flag a phone number or log a phone number in PhoneBurner as a do not call phone number, so we never call that number again using PhoneBurner. And as a reminder, every call that you make using PhoneBurner will in fact log a call back in Salesforce based off of whatever button you clicked on in PhoneBurner. It'll have a subject line of call with PhoneBurner dash the status that you put on that disposition, so that you can then trigger any other workflows or rules that you have in your Salesforce org based off of those call outcomes. So anyway, that's a quick little overview of how you can customize your dispositions or buttons in PhoneBurner. I hope this helps you and your team get more done using the power of PhoneBurner. Thanks again, and happy dialing.